You Americans watching this, you better think twice before ever wanting to make Canada your 51st state.
But let's start with Sean Fraser's comments. He says it's not the Wild West out there. Oh, really? Maybe he should talk to Mr. Faruqi's family, this courageous and heroic man who came to the defense of his children who will be traumatized for the rest of their life by watching their father mercilessly killed by a criminal who should be in the slammer.
Welcome to the Golden Belt Buckle Podcast. I tell you what, it's a good thing I waited all day to record this video, because when I read our Justice Minister's remarks about Pierre Poilievre's proposal to introduce a bill called the Stand on Guard Act, an amendment to, or a proposal to amend our criminal code, section 34, to make self-defense laws more clear, I was livid. I was emotionally, like, I could feel it. It was guttural. You know, he's talking about, oh, we're not the Wild West here. I'd prefer the judges or the cops lay charges and the judges assess the evidence than play cops and robbers. You know, it just seems so dismissive and insulting. It comes down to this. Do you love your family? All right. You know, do you love your family? Do you need anybody to tell you whether or not you can defend your property, your house, against people that break in to try and harm you or your kids? Do you need anyone to tell you that, right? And it seemed like he was being very flippant about the whole issue. We just had a guy in Toronto get murdered in front of his children, in front of his daughters. Another guy, Pierre Poilievre, mentioned recently he was zip tied. He broke free of the zip tie and he ended up shooting one of the intruders and killing him. Another guy, I think it was Milton, 5 people broke into his house and they harmed his grandmother. It was his grandmother, and he ended up shooting one of them. He killed one of them. And Pierre Poilievre's whole point was, you shouldn't, and you get a case that's so obvious. You shouldn't have to be arrested and charged for murder and then get taken into jail and have to get yourself out on bail and fight criminal charges to defend yourself. I said in my last podcast, it's as if in Canada you're just expected to roll over and die. And I know that that's kind of a myth. You're not necessarily expected to roll over and die, but you just got to know that if you defend yourself, you're probably going to get charged for murder if you kill the assailant, no matter what they were doing to you. It's like our justice system. Well, it takes two to tango, right? They broke in, you must have done something wrong too, so we got to charge you also. It makes no sense to me. The whole thing is, what that one fella on the internet say, it's clown world. That's what you got going on up here. You Americans watching this, you better think twice before ever wanting to make Canada your 51st state for real. So we're going to get into the comments that he made. And we're gonna break those comments down, and we're gonna make some sense out of this. And we're not gonna go on for too long. I'm gonna get my ocular enhancers on here, and we're gonna break down what these comments were. We're gonna be rational, which is something I would not have been earlier. So let's see what's going on. Canadians. This is Sean Fraser's comments. Canadians already have the right to defend themselves under a law Harper brought in with Poilievre's support. He wrote this. Fraser wrote this in response to Poilievre's proposal. So, was he referring to Canadians already have the right to defend themselves? Well, the Conservatives were the ones that basically rewrote the criminal code, section 34, back in 2012, to make it say what it says today. So, you have the section, you're not guilty of an offense if you felt that there was a danger, and then it gives to your person or someone else's person. Then it gives the next section is it defines what reasonableness is, and then it gives you like those 9 principles. So the reason why Stephen Harper and the Conservatives rewrote that section to say what it said was because before that it was even more confusing. It was a hodgepodge of stipulations throughout the code, and when the Conservatives came in, they said, no, this is wrong. They said essentially the same thing Pierre Poilievre is saying now. This is too confusing. Let's make this a little bit more, let's give some clarity. Canadians need to know they can defend themselves. So, so they did. It became law. I think it was 2012 it became law. So he's right when he says Canadians have the right to defend themselves. We do. He then goes on to say, so we have that, courtesy of the Conservatives. So he goes on to say, now he's chasing a photo op by attacking police for doing their jobs. I trust police to lay charges and judges to consider evidence over Pierre playing cops and robbers. So when he says he trusts the police to lay charges and judges and to consider evidence, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he's saying he expects you to just let your family get murdered so the cops can come in there and lay charges on the offender and then assess evidence, though that could happen. I think what he's saying there is, yeah, he expects you're going to get arrested. Like, let's suppose you get the victory over the armed assailant or whoever. Let's say you get the upper hand and you savagely beat them or you kill them. What he's saying is he trusts that you will be arrested, and he trusts the system. He's all right with you being arrested, and then, so the police laying charges, and then judges considering the evidence as to whether or not your force was justified. So that's what he's saying. So when he says this, Canadians already have the right to defend themselves. Then he says, I trust the police to lay charges and judges to consider evidence. The position he's defending is the position that the Conservatives brought in back in 2012. Essentially, I think what's going on here is a political game. I think Sean Fraser and the Liberals probably believe that the Conservatives, by introducing Harper's amendments and now Pierre Poilievre's amendments that he wants, what they think is going on is that the Conservatives are progressively moving us to an Americanized system. That's what I think that they think the Conservatives are doing. So they're going to oppose that and say, he's saying, no, we've gone far enough to the right. We're not going any further to the right. You have the right to defend yourself, courtesy of Stephen Harper. So what you should take away from this is there is a clear line of demarcation between the Liberals and the Conservatives. His own comments just seem like Liberals don't even want you to have the right at all to defend yourself. And you should be happy that, look, you got what you wanted. Stephen Harper got you the right to defend yourself, right? So there's a clear line of demarcation. And for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go with the side that says I can defend my family without prosecution. So those were his comments. And then he goes on to say, this isn't the Wild West, it's Canada. Canadians deserve real solutions that make us safer, not slogans that inspire fear and chaos for Pierre's political survival. Okay, so what is a real solution? I would love to know what their real solution is, right? Hug a thug? We're going to understand why the criminal's doing what they're doing? Look, in the heat of the moment, the real solution, there is only one solution when someone breaks into your house. And that's probably going to be violence. And as Pierre said, you don't have time. Even though you don't have time to sit back and wonder, is this proportionate? Despite the fact it was the Conservatives that rewrote to what the code to what we have now, even that, Pierre's saying, you don't have time. There is only one solution in that moment, right? And let me be clear. As a father, if someone breaks into my house and attacks my family, I don't want you rehabilitated. I don't care if prison is harming you, right? We don't like giving prison sentences because it harms people. We want to reintegrate them into society. I don't care about your reintegration. I don't care about minimum sentencing or any of that sort of stuff. There's going to be violence. Someone, me or them, are going to end up in the ground, okay? We could possibly end up in the ground, right? I'm not saying that's what's good, but it could happen, right? There is only one solution. So when he says we want real solutions, no, that is the one solution. And so what Pierre Poilievre is saying is your home is your haven. Your family is your responsibility, and your right to defend both is fundamental. Conservatives will make sure the law is finally on your side so you can stand on guard without fear of punishment. So Pierre's saying the law wasn't, it's like he's saying that the law wasn't on your side before. Maybe he goes a little bit too far with what he's saying right there, because it was the Conservatives that rewrote that law in the first place to put it more on your side, if you understand what I mean. Stephen Harper is the one who brought in the self-defense laws as we know them today. So Pierre would essentially be condemning Stephen Harper, saying, well, Pierre did nothing to put the law on your side. Well, he did, right? And it was with Pierre's support, which was noted by Sean Fraser. So the truth is, Stephen Harper brought the law a little bit to the right, and Pierre wants to bring it farther to the right, to the point where he says, my solution with the Stand on Guard Act is this. We're going to change the law to say that if someone has broken into your house and is a threat to your family, the use of force you apply is presumed legal, even lethal use of force. And that is the Castle Doctrine, right? So the Castle Doctrine from Cornell, it refers to an exception to the duty to retreat before using deadly self-defense if a party is in their own home. So it's the freedom to defend your own property. Another definition, the common law principle of Castle Doctrine says that individuals have the right to use reasonable force, including deadly force, to protect themselves against an intruder in their home. The principle has been codified and extended by, okay, that's American. But so that's essentially the Castle Law, and this is what this is all about. So you have two clear visions for this country right here. One reluctantly says you can defend yourself, and the other says you can absolutely defend yourself. The liberals, on one hand, don't want to go any further to the right than Stephen Harper. The conservatives, on the other hand, they want to move it farther to the right and make it absolutely clear that if someone invades your home, you have the right to use whatever force you believe is necessary and be presumed innocent under the law. Doesn't mean you're just going to get to kill people or do whatever you want, but it's a stronger statement that the law is on your side, more so than even what Stephen Harper did. And we can't blame Stephen Harper for only going as far as he did. Politics, what I've learned in my years, you can't just shock a system, right? You have to progressively move things either to the left or to the right. You can't just do things, right? So that is the issue. Those are the comments from Sean Fraser. Those are the comments from Pierre. And in my mind, look, crime is on the rise in Canada. It just is. In certain areas, it is more than others, okay? Especially in the Toronto, the GTA area, from what I can see, okay? So crime is on the rise. And the quicker this legislation gets passed, the quicker would-be home invaders will get the message that if you break into someone's house, you could forfeit your life. The quicker this is passed, the quicker they get the message, and the less victims there needs to be. So anyway, I'm going to leave it right there. Till next time, cheers. Keep the rubber side down. And again, like and subscribe if you like the content. Take care.